The 2016 election has been one of the most powerfully charged in recent history, and now only a handful of candidates are left as we approach November and the impending fate of the next 4 years of the United States of America. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and others are all vying for the title of president, but who will win and which states will decide? Join us as we examine the battle for the presidency and look at exactly who will be responsible. Red, blue, green, yellow? The presidency is a mixture of political factions, all shooting for the bullseye to sit in the most coveted seat in the White House. And over the next few months, several key states that are also referred to as battleground states will be up for grabs by the candidates. In a recent article posted by popular site Politico, the writers came up with 11 states that will be the key to winning the election. The general consensus lists Nevada, Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. But some other experts agree that just 7 of those 11 will really make a tremendous difference, and will be the, quote, swing states. But what exactly does that mean? And why are these 11 important? And will the other candidates that you probably don't even know exist really make a difference when it comes down to it all? In November, people will be going out to cast their vote for president, but what it all really comes down to is something called the Electoral College votes. And the 11 states we have mentioned have some of the most important ones. We don't talk much about any of the other states because they have most historically gone one way or the other with little chance of switching, and are basically solid in their choices. But then again, changes in demographics in recent years are causing political experts to begin to question those facts. And aside from that, the common voter doesn't really decide who the next president will be, but rather their state's electoral college voter. The Electoral College is made up of the body of voters who have designated the electoral voter in their state. Sound confusing? Well, basically it works like this. Each state holds a number of electors that equals its members of Congress. So, the more congressmen you have in your state, the bigger the number in your electoral college. Currently, there exists 538 electors, and they consist of 435 representatives and 100 senators, and also 3 electors from Washington, D.C., as was decided with the 23rd Amendment. It would also be good for you to know that no federal officials, elected or appointed, can be an elector. The electors are also under a winner-takes-all status, and this means that they can't be divided. They usually pledge their vote one way or the other, with very few occurrences in history of them changing their mind. In fact, several states have laws against the action, with punishments involved. Those electors then pledge not on the total number of votes, but on the popular vote within their state. So really, in a strange way, the presidential election becomes a popularity contest. Though it should be noted that if a member of Congress doesn't like the decision of the elector, they can object and contest that pledge. All of this is why it's important for voters to choose wisely when they vote for their senators and state representatives, and then to actually get out and vote for them when the time comes. This is also why deciding to vote for a third party in most cases is like wasting your vote. States will usually go one way or the other, and since third-party politicians usually don't win offices of senator and state representative, it eliminates their influence and ability in the Electoral College, and hurts a third-party candidate's chances. So that leaves us with a mix of red states and blue states, or in other words, states that are primarily Republican and primarily Democrat. Some are a no-brainer, and in most cases, an opposing candidate has no chance in that state. But 11 states within the United States have the potential to swing one way or another. Within these states, the changing tide of diversity in ethnicities, families, and economic situations have driven voters to change their minds, or, as the popular term goes, become a swing state. A swing state is often referred to as a purple state, being a mixture of blue and red, or a battleground state, where the candidates have to work hard to convince voters to choose them in order to gain the popular vote and have that state's electoral college go their way. No particular candidate has any measure of majority favor in these states, so they must battle it out on the campaign trail in order to influence the voters in those states. The general consensus in most cases is that each of these swing states begins with an equal amount of electoral votes. Then, that number will change through the day on Election Day. Swing states that oppose a certain candidate's party can be influenced by the opposing candidate in some strange ways. For instance, in 2012, Utah was primarily a blue state, and not very Republican at all. But they still chose to swing towards then-candidate Mitt Romney. This is most commonly thought because of Romney's Mormon religion and Utah being the epicenter of Mormonism. Trump and Clinton both have their draws and drawbacks due to certain things like racially influenced comments, dirty dealings with emails, and so on. And so, swing states that may have typically voted a certain way in the past are unpredictable this year. The more blue-collar states that could lean Democrat could also swing hard to the right for Trump due to his hard work attitude and appeal. States that may have typically voted for Trump in the past might swing hard to the left in favor of Hillary, simply because they can't stand Trump and his lack of traditional Republican views and track record. Alongside these facts is how the country as a whole is changing in its diversity, and the increasing number of the Latino vote growing in traditionally red states. Trump also wasted no time digging a hole for himself in his introductory speech with his comments on the Latino population, and this, coupled with his track record, along with his treatment of immigrants and his background on racial discrimination, could be a huge blow to his chances. This also becomes especially important in states like Ohio and Florida, who, despite being smaller states, hold a great number of electoral votes. Looking at the political map of the Electoral College, one would think it's a shoo-in for the Republican Party due to the massive number of states they are projected to have a lock on. But in fact, a good deal of those states have very few electoral votes in the end. 7 of the 11 swing states this year hold 85 electoral votes alone. A state like California would be a prized possession in the Electoral College, but over the past few elections it's increasingly grown more blue due to the growing influx of Latino voters and minority groups. Likewise, it's believed that Texas could be a key state that will swing blue this year, but in the last election Obama won just barely more than 40% of the state, and Texas voters aren't exactly excited to repeat his presidency. But while Texas has a high Latino population, it also has a high population of illegal immigrants who won't be able to vote. And with all of this and the candidates battling for the swing states, all eyes will be on Ohio and Florida primarily when the final decision is made. In recent history, the Democrats have held the lock on Florida, but it's the governor who could be a big influence, and he's Republican. Alongside this, the state is full of lots of, quote, old money, and retirees who have recently been scorned by changes in healthcare brought on by the Obama regime, combined with a growing threat of terrorism and opposition to Obama's recent loosening of the borders and business of Cuba. What does have the potential to hurt Trump in Florida is his rivalry with former candidates Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz. After resigning from his campaign, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush endorsed Senator Cruz, who, much like John Kasich in Ohio, refuses to give support to Trump. Cruz, being of Latino descent, has potential to influence the Latino vote to swing in Hillary's favor. And though Ohio has been Republican, and its governor John Kasich actually ran for president this year, Kasich and Trump's feuds continue to boil over. And as of recent news, Kasich commented that he doesn't even know who he's voting for. This is highly critical in one of the most coveted states within grasp, and could spell demise for Trump's chances. When it all comes down to it, Nevada, Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, and Virginia, along with North Carolina and Florida, will be in everyone's crosshairs on election night as the battle for the White House comes to its conclusion. But we want to know, who will you be voting for and why? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends. And while you're here, be sure to check out our video on some of Donald Trump's most dirty, devious, and dark secrets. Thanks for watching.